12 News Now at 5.
This is disturbing, what's going on in the city right now.
Shootings are up in Providence. The Target 12 investigators sift through the data to see which neighborhood has seen the most gun violence.
And a new variant of the coronavirus has been discovered halfway around the world. What we know about it and why health officials say it's only a matter of time before it comes here to the U.S.
Cold and dry out there right now. A lot of changes as we go through the week. We'll walk you through them coming up in just a few minutes.
But first at 5, a break-in turns deadly in Seekonk. I'm Shannon Heggie.
I'm Mike Montecalvo. Now the Bristol County District Attorney is investigating the deadly officer-involved shooting. They are identifying that man as 47-year-old Jeffrey Grohl of New Hampshire. Tonight, we're hearing from DA Thomas Quinn and people who were working nearby as the violent incident unfolded. 12
News reporter Brittany Schaefer joins us live now from Route 6 with those details. Brittany?
Well, Mike, Shannon, New England Tire across the street here tells us the suspect broke into their shop before they opened on Sunday and stole some money. The alarms went off and police were notified. The suspect then took off in a car, fled, flipping his car, and it landed right here. An AK-47 model rifle used against 2 Seekonk police officers. Bristol County District Attorney Thomas Quinn calling this a very violent incident.
With a assault weapon. It is very, very disturbing.
And while he says the assault-style weapon is unique, another officer-involved shooting is not. This is the second in Bristol County in the past week, with a third happening in Warwick.
It does seem that there's more and more violent encounters with the police, and it is disturbing. And it just highlights the dangerous situations that police come upon.
Quinn tells us Jeffrey Grohl broke into a Route 6 business around 6 a.m. Sunday. An employee of New England Tire tells us it was their shop that was broken into through the back door, and the suspect took money. Quinn says responding officers found Grohl in another nearby parking lot. The suspect then fled, but didn't make it far.
Cars flipping over and assault rifles being fired.
The 47-year-old firing an AK-47 rifle at officers. The DA says police fired back, and once the SWAT team arrived, they found Grohl dead inside his vehicle.
A tough situation. You can't do that, you know, and it's just rough. They had to protect everybody else as well. So it could have hit someone else, you know, just casually running by.
Someone shoots at a cop or an AK-47 is not really a good thing to do.
And the DA says Grohl was shot 3 times. One of them was fatal. He did not specify if the shots were from police or if they were self-inflicted. He says the investigation is still extremely active. For now, live in Seekonk, I'm Brittany Schaefer, 12 News.
Brittany, thank you. An update now on a murder investigation in Newport. A grand jury has just returned an indictment charging one of the suspects. 19-year-old Tyrese Polson is charged with 1 count of murder in the death of 22-year-old Max Julian back in May. Prosecutors say Polson and 19-year-old Jamel Reed stabbed Julian during a house party on Thames Street. Polson is due back in court for an arraignment on December 16th.
New at 5, Fall River police are sharing this wanted poster in hopes of finding the suspect in an armed robbery. Police say the person in these surveillance photos held up the Cumberland Farms on Stafford Road on Friday. Anyone with information can leave an anonymous tip at the number right there on your screen.
It's time now for your first forecast on this Monday night. TJ Del Santo is here. This is a nice night to, I don't know, light a Christmas tree in your hometown.
Like West Warwick. Yeah, Tony will have more on that coming up. But yeah, well, right now we are looking at this gorgeous sky behind you here, Mike. Just a little stripe of orange underneath the clouds. Nice ending to what was a kind of a nice day, but cold out there. Let's take a look at those temperatures in the 30s. 34 Smithfield, 37 Providence, Newport at 37. Now you factor in the winds, and it feels a little bit colder. Feels like 27 in Smithfield, 30 in Providence, 29 that feel like temperature over in Newport. There's that sky in Newport again. You can see that little stripe of orange with some clearing as we look on off to the west. We'll continue to see the skies clearing out overnight. No rain or snow to be tracking right now. Forecast for tonight. Going to get pretty cold. Temperatures by midnight in the upper 20s. Overnight lows down to the low to mid 20s. So pretty cold night ahead. How are we looking for the rest of the week? Lots of ups and downs. We'll break it all down for you in just a little while.
TJ, thank you. Officials say the new COVID-19 variant known as Omicron has been detected or has not been detected in the United States yet. However, it appears to be a matter of when, not if, the new strain is detected here. The World Health Organization says the new variant poses a very high risk globally. 12 News reporter Alexandra Leslie took questions to the Rhode Island Department of Health and explains what we know about Omicron so far. Alex?
Well, Shannon, health officials say this new variant, it has about 50 mutations, including more than 30 in its spike. That's a viral protein on its surface. They train the vaccines, the vaccines train the body rather to recognize and attack them. Now, scientists are hoping to determine if our current vaccines protect against all of them. Dr. Philip Chan with the Rhode Island Department of Health says the Omicron variant has so far not been detected in Rhode Island.
But there's still a lot we don't know, and I want to caution people about jumping to conclusions.
Chan says what we don't know is how much more transmissible the new variant could be, if it causes more severe disease, or if it's more resistant to the current vaccines or therapeutics.
Early reports from the ground suggest that it is not more severe, that it is causing more mild illness, but I think we have to wait and see what develops.
Chan says we'll be able to find the new variant with surveillance testing, as we have with other COVID variants.
So these viruses are sequenced across the world, including right here in Rhode Island.
He says early reports suggest tests will be able to detect Omicron. Chan says the best forms of protection is what we've been taught the last 2 years.
So that includes, of course, getting vaccinated, getting your booster if you haven't, wearing a mask, especially when you're in indoor public places and crowded situations, ventilation, and of course staying at home if you're sick at all.
Now, if you've gotten a COVID test recently, the Department of Health says the laboratory that runs the majority of the state testing here in Rhode Island has caused some PCR test results to be delayed by about 1 or 2 days. The DOH says that's due to a machine issue, but the problem should be resolved sometime midweek. Live in studio, Alexandra Leslie, 12 News.
Alex, thank you. New at 5, a disturbing case of animal cruelty out of Portsmouth. Police say these 2 female dogs were found lying on the side of Linden Lane Thanksgiving morning. The dark-colored one was nicknamed Turkey, and the light-colored dog was named Gravy. Sadly, Turkey's health forced the vet to put her down. Gravy is being cared for at the vet's office and will eventually be sent to the Potter League for more rehabilitation. Anyone with information on this case is asked to call Portsmouth detectives at the number right there at the bottom of your screen. A jury has been picked in New York City for the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell. 12 jurors and 6 alternates began hearing opening statements today. She's accused of recruiting and grooming girls for the late billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. Maxwell's charges stem from the allegations of 4 women who say she and Epstein abused them as teenagers from 1994 to 2004. She faces up to 80 years in prison if she's found guilty. The 59-year-old British socialite has been jailed in Brooklyn since her arrest.
Well, the headlines have been nonstop for more than a year. People are being shot and killed at alarming rates in cities across the country. That includes in Providence, where shootings and murders spiked last summer and haven't slowed down since. Tonight, Target 12 examines crime data in depth, pinpointing the neighborhoods where violence has erupted the most. Target 12 investigator STEPH MACHADO has been examining the trend and joins us now with what's being done to stop it.
Providence had successfully brought its violent crime rate down before the pandemic, so an increase in gun crimes is raising alarm. In 2021 so far, 75 people have been shot in the city of Providence. The bullets fired in nightclubs, a laundromat, a restaurant during breakfast, a young woman gunned down leaving a friend's house. A Target 12 review of the addresses where shootings have happened this year show people are being injured or killed by gunfire across the city, from the northern border to South Providence. The neighborhood with the highest number of shootings this year is Washington Park, where 11 people have been shot so far in 2021. 8 of them in May during a gang-related shootout on Carolina Avenue.
I was really worried, and then I barely go out.
Patricia Delgado moved to Washington Park right before that shooting. She was outside when it happened and heard the shots. Now she stays in.
It makes me worried, too, since I have a little boy, you know, he will have to get raised here, so I'm worried about that.
Shootings in Providence had been dropping in the past decade, from 110 people shot in 2011 down to just 35 in 2019. But they spiked again in 2020, with 73 people shot in Providence last year and 75 so far in 2021.
In the middle of 2020, something happen.
Providence's police chief Hugh Clements says the city is following a national trend of increased shootings and homicides.
This is disturbing, what's going on in the city right now. Criminologists around the country are scratching their heads and grappling with exactly what is taking place.
One explanation is an increase in gun sales. The number of federal background checks for gun purchases initiated in Rhode Island more than doubled in 2020, according to the FBI. Criminals often get people with clean records to buy guns for them in what are called straw purchases, which Clements says are common in Providence.
We are seeing way more firearms and guns in the community than we've ever seen. To date, we have 183 guns taken off the street, which I believe is the highest number in my recollection in years.
The shootings in Providence are also becoming deadlier. While the number of people shot was higher in 2011, there were just 12 homicides that year in the city. This year, so far, there have been 22 homicides, the highest number since 2009. All but 2 were shootings.
How many officers are specifically dedicated to gun violence?
We only have a small violent crime task force with a sergeant and 4. We're looking to add to that.
Clements says the 49 new Providence police officers that just graduated from the academy will allow more experienced officers to backfill those specialized units. When the recruits finish field training in January, they'll bolster the number of officers patrolling the streets.
Where we see an uptick in violent crime or gun activity in certain areas, we direct resources towards that area.
Right now, that's Washington Park, South Providence, the West End, Federal Hill, Olneyville, and the Wanskuck neighborhood up near Providence College, which has seen 10 shootings this year, the second most for any Providence neighborhood.
I worry about the safety of the communities where there's gun violence occurs all the time, and that's what keeps me up at night, but I really think we're ready to turn the corner.
Police are, of course, just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to tackling gun crimes. Chief Clements refers to it as a shared responsibility with other social service agencies, clinicians, and organizations. With the Target 12 investigators, I'm Steph Machado, 12 News.
Steph, thank you. And this Target 12 investigation continues on 12 News at 6. We'll tell you about plans to spend COVID relief money in Providence in a way that could combat violence.
Students at Pilgrim High School in Warwick went back into the classroom today with heavy hearts. Students were distance learning over the last couple of weeks after a spike in COVID cases at the school. Their return comes as Pilgrim is mourning the sudden loss of their principal, Jerry Habershaw. He passed away unexpectedly over the weekend. Hundreds turned out last night to a vigil on the football field to remember Habershaw. Visiting hours are this Friday from 3 to 7 at the Quinn Funeral Home in Warwick. His funeral mass is Saturday morning at 10 at St. Kevin's Church in Warwick. We have more coverage you can count on coming up next on 12 News at 5. Several local businesses are targeted by vandals, and one alleged incident is caught on camera.
Plus, $4.5 million is up for grabs for nonprofit organizations in Rhode Island, but not all nonprofits are eligible. We have the details.
Get more